Welcome back for another episode of Studio Time, and we're still in the middle of my new template. In the last episode, we went over all the utility tracks that sit here on top. In my top window, we talked about that in the last episode. Now we're actually going to go to the fun part, is where you actually make music, and that's the bottom part of my Cubase arrangement window. So let me close a few windows, and technically you see two folders here. One is called Jigsaw Instruments and the other one is Jigsaw Scoring. Now, Jigsaw Instruments is a collection of tracks, MIDI tracks, that have everything to do except the orchestral sounds. So you'll find bass sounds in there, drum sounds, sound design, synthesizers, bass guitars, whatever you name it. It's in the Jigsaw Instruments. Everything that is orchestral, strings, brass, woodwinds is in the Jigsaw Scoring folder. And the Jigsaw Scoring folder primarily, I would say half is like commercial libraries that you can buy out there, and then half are libraries that I or made myself or I had access to. The Jigsaw Instruments folder only contains instruments that I've created myself or sounds that I've created myself. So let's open these folders back again and we're going to look at them. So if we go to the Jigsaw Instruments and we go to the very, very top track, let me just open this up all the way to the top so we're not seeing the top arrangement or the top utility tracks, so we're just focusing on the instruments and the tracks that are actually in the template that you can make music with. So the first track that we see is called Jigsaw Paradise Piano 1 Writing Tool, and then the second track is the Muted Contact Writing Tool. So technically these are the only two polyphonic orchestral patches, if you will, in this whole template. The rest is just monophonic, and you just need to write melody lines for each and every instrument, but we'll get to that later when we get to those tracks. So here we have a simple piano patch. This is the Ivory piano that I really like. There's one particular patch which is called something with pedals or with a resonator, and I tweaked the piano sound a little bit until I liked it, and I really like this darker kind of sound, so I like to play with that when I write music. And the second one is a muted patch that I really like to play and just, you know, make music with. So a really nice patch I like to play with. Okay, so that's that. That's just to slap down a few ideas that I might have, and then I go work it out on all the individual tracks in the template. Let's just move on. So the next folder is bass instruments for sub and double basses. So what this folder does is adding low ends to the orchestral recording. So if I play the first track, it's a really deep sounding dark saw wave. This actually comes from an instrument called Massive. It's an amazing instrument. It's actually around for a really long time. And here I have all my own folders with sounds that I've made like a long time ago. Beautiful sounding synth, and I love to use it. Next couple of tracks are UVI instruments, the Apollo USQ1, Cameo, and UVI string machines, which is sort of like a take on the Solina string ensemble, which is like very old. And then we have an Atmosphere bass, which is called I don't know what it's called, but it's this instrument. The cool thing about these patches is that you can take whatever you've written for the basses in the orchestra or the tuba and just like copy that part immediately on one of these tracks, and it will add a really nice low end to your production. You don't really have to do anything at that point. The way that I've set up these instruments is that they react now the same way to expression, volume, modulation as the orchestral libraries do. So it's like drag and drop and then you're done. Okay, next track. Synthesizers and a folder called Extra Synths. So the instruments that are loaded here are not necessarily used to actually, you know, you have to use this. This is more like pointing you into a direction what else you could use. So I spent at a certain point a lot of time making all these sounds with Make Noise, which is a Euro format case with modules in it, and it's called the Black Box. And you can make some amazing sounds with it. I actually took the box apart and I put all the modules into my Eurorack wall at this point. But I make a lot of sounds with these things, so they sound something like this. Always good to have these type of sounds, but it's not like, okay, let's use this sound over and over and over again. Like I said, it's a way to point it in a certain direction. So if I open up this instrument, contact the sampler of choice every time I build an instrument. It's a great a plugin. It's been around for a long time. I built so many instruments in it. Hats off to Native Instruments for doing that. So now that I go there, you see here an instrument with a skin of what Make Noise is. I just make these myself. And then you go to a folder where all these sounds are being made. And then basically you can just like open a different one if you want. And let's see what this one is. Okay, so another sound made with Make Noise. So it's technically a way to direct you to a certain set of instrument sounds and then you can go through it. This one is actually particularly nice, I think. It starts kind of like a drone, and then when I pull the mod wheel down... Whoa, that was loud. Everybody's ears still okay? Yeah. Yeah, yours too? That's awesome. Let's see. Oh, actually, I might have thrown that sound away by mistake. So that sound is not there anymore. Doesn't matter. Let's see. Let's go to the next folder, which is called Extra Synth Tracks. So basically, this is where you would load your extra synths that you want to use for this particular instrument. Oh, I forgot to say, the folder that we're in right now is project-specific instruments. Let me say something about that. If I close this folder, you see another folder underneath and it says standard template from here on down. So the standard template is standard. It's being used technically on everything that I work on, but the standard template is also constantly being updated. And I'm sure you recognize this. You know, it's like Black Friday, you find this great library out there that is now like half off or something like that. It's like, oh, we should really get that. And then you get it and then you play around with it and it's like, oh, it's so great. Let's make that part of the template. And then you look at the template again. It's like, you know what? This choir library I haven't really used for like a year or so. Let's throw it out. And then, so also the standard template is constantly moving into a new direction. But the special project instrument folder, that's where you would load instruments, sounds, production value, whatever you call it, that is specific for that cue, specific for that movie, specific for that suite that you write. And then that production will travel from cue to cue to cue to cue that you're doing with all these instruments in there. So you can work a little bit faster. So if we open up that folder again, we have here that blue folder that we just talked about. And now we're talking about the synths. So technically, I made like another, 20, 30 empty tracks that you can use to then put instruments in, whatever you want. You can write music and do music with. And then the next folder is audio and resamples. So the special instruments folder falls apart in two different categories. One is actually VST instruments, Contact, UE, Brazil, the Zebra, the Omnisphere, whatever you want to insert there. And then the second folder is audio and resamples. Now in this folder, I would throw potentially guitar recordings that I did, bass recordings that I did, but also sound design that I've done on the modular synthesizer over there, or the modular synth over there, or other things that I've done with the synths here. I would record them in. But also I would do resampling in this thing. So that's why you see that track sample, resample record. The way that I've set it up and routed it is that anything that I have programmed at that point, I can record in here and then immediately drop it down to any of the other tracks to do some resampling with. So I usually do a lot of resampling on my strings. So I already made 4 tracks, violin 1 and 2 resamples, viola resamples, cello resamples, and bass resamples. So those tracks are already made, so I can already start processing some stuff there. Here you also see a bunch of tracks that are empty at this point. They're just all ready to go if you wanted to add more audio to your template. So now we get to the section in the template where it says it's a standard template from here on down. I just talked to you about that. So let me bring out a couple of things here. So there are a couple of sounds in this template from here on down that are coming from commercial libraries, half of them, but all the sounds have been reworked. So none of the commercial libraries that will, when you see the name, for instance, Sam Big Banks, which is an instrument from Project Sam, but the way that it sounds in my template and the way that I treated the samples is not the same as the commercial library. So usually I take commercial libraries and I process them and or put them back together, or I have like extreme processing on the instrument return, or I do something else with it. But yeah, so none of the commercial libraries that you hear out here are actually the same as you buy out there in the store. And this is actually very easy to do. You could have like, for instance, in this case, there's like 2 hits like that in there. I also call it G sharp 2 and A2, which are these two. So the sample originates from a library from Sam Big Banks, but I did some multi-band compression on it, a little bit of distortion, and basically resampled those sounds and then build a new contact with those 2 things in it. So this is a philosophy that I constantly keep doing for actually most of the tracks in my template. So let's just scroll through it. This is like the big hit programming. So there's the Sam Big Banks, the Symphobia hits, also from Project Sam. Then a couple of custom libraries that I did myself. Some slaps from basses and the whole string orchestra. Then we have a low drum there. This one is actually pretty good. This is the Newman concert drum that is somewhere out there in LA. It's a really great sound. Then we get to a bunch of drum sounds for Mortal Engines, the bass drum. Really good sounding drum. Actually, that reverb that you're hearing is the original reverb of that room where I recorded this in Wellington. It was something like a Home Depot for plants and garden stuff, and they went down and Pete bought the building. And so it was completely empty, and they said, hey, can I go in there and just record a bunch of stuff? And so I did. So we're continuing in the concert bass drums folder. I did some medium drums. I have a big Yamaha concert drum, bass drum, and I sampled these with my hands with a bunch of microphones really close. This is pretty loud, but this is quieter. Oh, I mean actually this track, sorry, I'm on the wrong. It's a really... It's a really nice sound. So that's my Yamaha bass drum. Some other tracks, Air Pusher. It's something I also did in that hall. Then we get some percussion instruments. I use some East-West percussion from a very, very old library that they did like years and years and years ago. And then we get to a timpani library that I recorded myself, which I'm super happy with. So this is also recorded at that tank that I was talking about. So I'm really happy with this. This is at this point sounding extremely dry. I still need to write some of the to the outputs to the different channels, and then it will sound larger. So at this point, it's just a closed mic. So snare ensemble from East West, also very old library. The harp, also the harp, very old library, but I'm just very happy with the sound of it. We go to another folder that's other orchestral perc programmed. It's the East West Wagner drum, then a steel impact thing I did myself, some more old East West stuff. Hans's timpani with hard sticks and soft sticks, the one that the one that I mixed for his library. Some xylophone, some more snares, some ADO drums, the dolls with the hands. I really like this instrument. It's a really cool instrument. Then we get to the sound design low hits. These are, but from here on, it's all stuff that I did myself. No commercial libraries. Some low hits. It's pretty deep. I hope you have a good headset so you can really hear the low end of that thing. So more low hits, more effect hits. Then we get to the whooshes, long, medium, short. All made myself and turned into instruments. And then we get to the drum library, which is extremely extensive. It's hundreds and hundreds of tracks. Anyway, I can go on for hours and hours and hours and hours. This is all drums, this is all drums, this is all drums. More drums, so this is all world music perc. Anyway, we can go on for hours and hours and hours. Let's not do that. So that's the whole drum department. And then we get to the last set of drums, if I'm correct. Yes, and then we move into the metal department. And these are the drums that I made for Tomb Raider. So I had this guy from San Diego, Christian Verbeek. He's now building me a whole new set of drums. I can't talk about that right now, except for the fact that I'm extremely enthusiastic what he's going to build for me. But he built this for me for Tomb Raider. So I was looking for specific Pacific drum sounds where they make those really great rhythms with. And it took some exercising to actually play all these instruments. And it was so great. It's like animal skins. And we made a little video of this, the making of for this special type of instrument. So we can put a link right here so you can click on it and then you could see the making of these things. But I sampled the hell out of these things. Anyway, they sound fantastic. So now we get to the end of the drum department. There's only one thing left that is somewhat percussion orientated, and those are metal hits. Again, these are all things that I sampled myself and built instruments out of it. So let's see where. So these are all things that I sampled in New Zealand, again in that big tank type building. We have some effects, some more metal stuff, and then there's like so many tracks of metal stuff. Primarily, most of it was used for Mad Max. It's again like hundreds of tracks. And then we get to the end of the metal department and the drum department and the bass drum department, the big hit department, the special project instruments. On one hand, the instruments, on one hand, the audio tracks, and then on top we have 2 MIDI tracks as a writing tool, the piano and the strings. And in the next episode, we're gonna make our way down the template. So thanks for watching this one. See you on the next one.